Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to check out today's video, which, as you've probably guessed based on the thumbnail, is me creating some stickers and a cover pattern to go with my South Korea theme. Now, I haven't done this before for you guys, and I would love to hear some comments on what you think of me doing this. So creating some stickers and a cover designed based on the month of the bullet journal. So I thought I'd do it in my style that I use through the weeklies, which is black ink and metallic gold. So let's see how we go. So firstly, as you saw me there, I sketched everything out on an A4 page just using my lead pencil. And I wanted to make these kind of icons quite simple and stylized, but still with a little more detail so that they're true to my style of drawing, which I tend to always overdo the detail. So I really tried to pull back on these stickers to try and keep them simplified as much as possible. Now, so I did a tiger to start with, which is the national animal of South Korea. And this one I'm working on now is of the palace, the Gyeongbokgung Palace. And I tried to just give a simple amount of detail, just using thickness of lines and the strokes that I like to color in with as well. Then I thought I would include the Taejuk, which is from the South Korean flag. And you see it a lot as a symbol that just kind of keeps popping up in imagery associated with South Korea. So I thought that would be a good thing to keep in there. And I also did the national flower, which is the hibiscus. And I've added quite a few of those because I feel like this kind of thing would be more likely to be used around your spreads if you were to use these stickers in your bullet journal. By just adding a few little flowers, I thought that would be quite cute. I've got the national dish, the kimchi, the national drink of soju, and then I've also got my girl that featured in my weekly spreads when she was walking through the Bukchon Hanok village. So I thought I'd include her. I really enjoyed drawing her, and I thought she would look cool with a little bit of metallic gold on her. Then I wanted to add the doll Harabang, which I spoke about in my weekly videos, which is the fertility god made out of rock. Then down the bottom I added the pavilion that's found at the Gyeongbok Palace and a little lantern as well. Now all the gold parts I do digitally. After I scan this in, I'll add the gold parts to be printed in gold foil or metallic ink. I haven't quite decided yet, but when they are ready I'll be putting those up on my Etsy shop, and I will be giving you a heads up when they're ready to go. It's just something I'm trying. Let me know what you think. I hope that it turns out well and you guys can enjoy a bit of South Korea in your own bullet journal. So next part of this video is me setting up the South Korean pattern. Now I have made an Australian theme already in this book here that I'm showing you. Started with that artwork and then I got it printed and I designed this whole book based on the qualities that I like to see in my bullet journal. If you want to learn more about that and find out when it's going to be on sale or for pre-order, there's a link in the description box where you can sign up to receive some information about it. And then when it's ready for purchase. So when I did my design for the Australian theme, I chose an animal that is very reflective of Australia for me personally, and that was the galah. And then I had it featured alongside a lot of the native flora that you would find in Australia, like the banksia. So this one I kind of wanted to keep the same feel and the same vibe, but just change it up to suit the South Korea theme. So I decided to go with the national animal of the tiger and also the national flower of the hibiscus. Now to start out making these patterns, I decided how much I would want on there, whether I would want it full of tigers or full of flowers or have a lot of space around it. So you kind of have to think about those things before you start mapping out your sketch. So I decided that because I've had the experience of creating the Australian one, that I had two different positions of the bird, and so I wanted to do that with the tiger. So I found these two images of tigers looking very calm and very majestic, and I wanted to do those both. So I've got one seated position with the tiger's face looking off to the side, looking very peaceful, and then one looking really striking, staring straight at the viewer, looking extremely regal. I love to draw tigers this way because I find as soon as you give them that open mouth, they can look quite ferocious, and I definitely didn't want this to feel angry in any way. I wanted it to be, you know, very peaceful and calming to look at, because it is going to be for a bullet journal purpose, and you definitely don't want to be high intensity for your bullet journal. You want to be calm, relaxed, and I just feel like these tigers will invite you to open up and get drawing or get writing and planning. As for the technique I'm using, I first mapped it out all in lead pencil, then surrounded my tigers with the hibiscus in different angles, and I kept the hibiscus quite large on here because I wanted there to be some balance between the two. I didn't want the flowers to be so small if they were actual size in comparison to the tiger. So I kept them rather large, which I think gives a nice effect in the end. I also kept like a circle shape in behind the tigers as well, as if the stems of the flowers are sort of curling around them, and because that circle is often found in South Korea as well because of the Taejuk, and yeah, a lot of their symbols are very rounded, so I wanted to get that in there as well. And then after I went through and went over the sketch with my Pigma microns, I just am going in now with some watercolor. I love starting out my watercolor pictures with the Pigma microns or any, you know, water resistant fine liner, because it makes it a hell of a lot easier to where you're going to be placing your water, so that it doesn't, you know, bleed out and give you something that's not quite where it's meant to go. Having said that, I would love to paint loosely without having any fine liner down, but in something like this where I'm going to be chopping it up and matching it together to make a seamless pattern, I needed to have that exact line of where things are meant to go. Now here for the shading, I added like a purpley tone with the watercolor. I wanted to add some shadows, but I didn't want to bring in any black because I wanted to try and keep this whole design to two colors, like an orangey and a pink. So the purple just adds a little bit of something to add a bit of depth to that tiger. Now here I'm adding in some masking fluid just to the stigma part of the flowers, because I know that I want to keep that bright white so that I can just add a little touch of yellow later on. So by adding this masking fluid, it means that once it's dry, you can go over it with water and your watercolor, and then you can just rub it off afterwards and it will reveal the clean paper beneath it. So it's a very handy tool to have if you do a lot of watercolor. Now I just go through and paint on a pink color all across the hibiscuses and just gradually building up to the depth that I want. Now I love it at kind of this stage here where it's quite light and it's just a wash of pink. Unfortunately, I kept going and I made it a little bit too dark, and I felt that they were sort of overpowering the tigers. So I wish I could just pause right here and keep that as my final version. But I do have a problem with like just keep going and adding more detail and adding more color. I find it really hard to stop sometimes. So this is one of those classic examples where I should have stopped about here. But yes, I added more color and it got quite dark, as you can see in a minute. Now I'm just adding little bits of detail around the petals, trying to make them look a little bit more lifelike. And then adding in the orange stems around. I didn't want to add another color like a green or something. I wanted to keep it all in these warm tones across the picture. And now I'm just getting rid of the masking fluid so that I can add in the little bit of detail through the middle of the stigma of the flower. And then after that, I am basically done with the design for the first part. I need to cut this up and then I join it together and continue the pattern to connect. Now, if you're interested in how to learn how to do a seamless pattern in your art like this, I am actually starting a Patreon account, which I will give you more information on soon when it's ready, but I've got a video going up on there of exactly how to create seamless patterns. So if you're interested in that, just stay tuned. So here, like I said before, I'm just adding in the little bits of extra detail once I've merged it ready for the seamless pattern. And then after that I need to digitize it. So to do that I just scan it in really high quality and then do a lot of correction in Photoshop to get rid of any joins. I also corrected the color that I wasn't quite happy with on those flowers, just made it a touch lighter so that the whole piece felt balanced. And here's the final piece. So this is the seamless pattern that we created from scratch. I really love how it turned out. I'm super happy with it. Gives me that vibe that I was going for. Nice, peaceful, South Korea inspired bullet journal cover. So if you do like it and you want to be kept in the loop of when it's going to be available, just check out the link down below and leave your email there, and I will give you a notification when it will be ready on my Etsy shop. So this was the last themed video for South Korea. I've absolutely loved my journey here, and I will see you guys next week when we do the Oman setup for October in my bullet journal. All right, stay safe guys, and I will catch you next week. Bye.